Hi there, good morning, and thank you for joining us. I had an old friend, sadly no longer with us, called Tommy Montgomery. He was the lollipop man at Bonhill Primary School, saw the children across the road safely. He was a great guy. He loved the children. They loved him, called him Uncle Tommy. He once said to me, "Ian, when I get to heaven, there's one person I want to meet." And I was fascinated. Who would this be? But he said, the Apostle Paul. Well, I think I'm with you, Tommy. Last week I spoke of him and how he figured he had to convince people he was the real deal. So he set out his credentials. First, he said, "I'm called to do what I'm doing." But secondly, he laid it in the line that he was a changed man. He had been Paul the persecutor, chasing down, harrying anybody who called himself Christian. But he says, "One day I met Jesus on the road to Damascus, and the experience changed me. Overnight, I went from Paul the persecutor to Paul the apostle." He was called. He was a strong character. A social commentator said recently, one of the problems of life that we have today is that we're suffering from a loss of trust. Everywhere we look, we find evidence that nobody trusts the way they used to. Take a look at the corner of your local supermarket. There'll be a security camera. They don't trust you. Some folk no longer seal their marriage with a kiss, particularly in America. Instead, they sign prenuptial agreements. Banks delay clearing your checks because they don't trust their customers. Are we really that dishonest? And of course, then we begin to talk of politicians and folk like that. The Reader's Digest once dropped 120 wallets on streets in various towns, all containing cash. Its purpose was to test honesty. About 67% of the lost wallets were returned, indicating that, according to this unscientific method, we're about 67% honest. Not a bad measure of trust either. How would you feel about someone who finds money in the street and keeps it? How trustworthy would you think that person was? Many years ago, there was a survey about public's perception of who's telling the truth, and in this study, people said that the clergy told the truth about 49% of the time. Doctors, 48%. Their best friend, 26%. The local newspaper, 8%. The Prime Minister and politicians varied between 3 and 8%. What a terrible indictment this. What percentage of the time do you tell the truth? Paul had the credentials of being called by God, a changed life, but honesty, a good character, and total commitment to what he was doing. He was in there for the long haul. In rock climbing, I'm told there's something called a commitment move. You're tied to the rope, and there's a moment when you're standing and you've got to let go of the solid ground to move to the next higher place. It's a scary step. You must trust what you're tied on more than what you're standing on. And very simply, I think Jesus offers us the same lesson. What you're tied on is so much greater than the little bit you're standing on. The one to whom you're connected is greater than any circumstance in your life. You can trust him with your life. That Paul believed, and that I believe as well. Thank you once again for joining us this morning, and God bless you.